Hello and welcome to the Compass Wealth Conversations podcast with your host, Brendon Murphy. I'm your podcast producer, RJ Malik, and joining us right now is Brendon. Brendon, welcome and hello.
Hey RJ, how you doing today?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Good. It's a beautiful day in Havertown, Pennsylvania. I couldn't ask for anything better.
Very nice. All right. Well, what we are doing here today is we're getting to know you. So let's start off with just give us your background. How, your experience. How did you get to where you are today?
So it's actually a funny story. I was actually in the service industry, restaurant industry, for a number of years. Worked at different bars, restaurants, managed restaurants. Got married along the way, had my first son, and my father-in-law was in the business of insurance. So along the way, having my first kid, couldn't be in the bars all night, working until 2 a.m. I went to him and said, listen, is there a way you can start showing me how to do what you do? I can't be out every night with the kids and, growing family and things of that nature. So he agreed to it. And along the way, he taught me.
So how that's a pretty difficult transition. I mean, the food service. Well, I should maybe let me back that up a little bit. It's difficult in one way, especially the hours, but it's probably similar because you're always dealing with people.
I find that the restaurant business is similar to the financial services business in the way you service, the way you're listening to the customer, the way you're listening to the person sitting across the table from you. It's pretty much the same way as somebody going into a restaurant. They have a menu to pick from, depending on what they're looking for and where they are in their journey, right? Where they are that day, what they order off the menu, the type of drinks they have, the teamwork that's built around in the service industry. You have waiters, managers, food runners, cooks. So everyone plays a part in the overall performance and what it is. So for me, sitting across the table from someone, it's like reading them as they're sitting at a bar or restaurant and what type of mood they're in and what they're looking for in the experience.
So your interactions with people, in the restaurant business, do you find that as a benefit in dealing with your clients because you're used to interacting with them and sort of reading their body language?
I think so. I think that most of it is you're listening to the person talking, but the person that maybe isn't talking next to them has actually more to say by their body language. If a husband likes to order for his wife and the wife isn't really happy about it, he's making the financial decision, she's not really happy about it. It all kind of plays the same way.
Yeah. That's got to be a challenge. I know in my situation, I can make some decisions, but I have to read my wife's body language, and she sends the signals, and it's taken years, but I'm finally catching them.
You get that small kick under the table.
Yes. The shin is still recovering a little bit. You know how that works. So making that switch. I mean, how difficult was it for you to pick up on everything? I mean, or is this something because you had the restaurant business, there's a lot of finances involved with that, in balancing budgets and things like that. Did that help you in this transition?
It helps with the learning process because in a restaurant you're moving so fast paced, whatever it may be. So learning it took a couple of years. So I was doing both at the same time, which helped me with the conversations literally in the restaurant. Those conversations with patrons when they bring up certain situations, besides just like how are the kids, how's the family. They're like, oh, well, this is going on at work. And then you can kind of have that financial conversation with them. And they're like, oh, you know a lot about that. I was like, actually, I'm learning about this right now. So you can have that conversation back and forth. So it's a more engaged conversation than just what's going on outside.
Sure. Okay. Now that you've made this transition, what is it that you really love about this industry?
You know what's funny? It's still the conversations. It's the conversations about the people sitting across the table, where they are, where they started from, where they're trying to go, whether it's where they are right now, where they want to be in 3 years, maybe 5 years or 10 years, because not everyone knows where they're going, right? So we come up with the plans based on those conversations, the plan for today, and then we work with our clients to make sure that if something happened a week from now, 3 weeks from now, or 5 years from now, that plan is going to be able to be adjusted along the way.
So your communication skills that you developed in dealing with the patrons at a restaurant are useful for what you're doing now.
Yeah, I think so. I think across the board, just having those conversations, just be able to talk to them on a level. I think that people are intimidated by talking to financial professionals along the way, whether it's their advisor. They're scared. Some people, we've had customers come in that never opened their statements before. We had a box of envelopes brought in, and we sat here and opened them. So they're worried about that. They're not worried about maybe ordering at a restaurant, but they're worried about, hey, what can this person do? I'm scared to ask these questions. I don't know if I have, that magic number to retire, which not everyone needs. Some people do, some people don't. But it's just about the balance of where their life is. So for us, that conversation comes across, and it's easy to have that conversation when you're opening up and just kind of talking about your family and your situations along the way.
But that's got to be the biggest challenge, getting people to open up, because I know a lot of people don't want to talk about their finances, even though they have to, and it's important. It's just not a comfortable topic, especially when you're getting to know them. So what do you do to try to make a potential client comfortable?
So we call our first meeting conversations, because a conversation isn't like as intimidating as a complimentary consultation or a consultation about finances. It's a conversation. We don't ask for any statements. We don't ask for any financial information. We're just going to have a conversation back and forth. You want to ask questions of us. We want to ask questions of you. We want to get to make sure that you want to work with us. We want to work with you along the same lines, because if our philosophies don't fit, it doesn't matter regardless of what kind of questions you want to ask, right? So we're asking, family questions. How's your family? Where'd you grow up? Things of that nature. They might be a referral from a friend, and our friend might have a different feeling than their friend. So we just kind of continue those conversations, asking questions, seeing where to get to, and then after that, if they want to continue the conversation, then we'll ask for financial details along the way.
Okay, so you're feeling them out, and their answers to your questions give you an idea of where they're at and where they want to be?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and where they are specifically at that time. And hey, maybe they're in their 40s, or they're in their 50s and they're getting ready to retire. They have that window. They say, we got a 5-year window, we want to be out, and then we can kind of suit the plan to that need depending on where they are.
Okay, what is your specialty when you're dealing with a client, a potential client?
So my specialty is fixed income annuities, generating personal pensions for people that don't have them today. Where in America, 4% of jobs that still offer pensions, right? People are living off of Social Security. About 40% of Americans are just living off Social Security. So nowadays, with the companies taking away pensions, we're looking at using their 401k dollars and or lump sum, depending on what they have, where they work, whether it's PICO employee, teachers around here. We look at to make sure that they have enough guaranteed income to live off of, right? And to make sure that on top of Social Security, that benefit that Social Security was meant to be is a benefit to them.
Okay, that's you want to avoid having that as their sole income.
Absolutely.
In their retirement age. So you have a number of, for a lack of a better phrase, tools to help them get to that point?
Yeah, we have a number of vehicles. You want to call vehicles tools. We use different ones for different people, depending on how it suits their nature, their age-based, their retirement, when they're ready to retire. It might be a 3-year retirement. We'll wait 10 years, and then we could have a couple different options along the way. And then we also look at, do they have long-term care built into it, right? That's something that most people don't have in. That's a different conversation. You don't want to have the financial conversation. No one wants to talk about taking care of their parents or themselves or someone else along the way.
That's my wife and myself. That's the party we're in, taking care of our moms. And that's something that, boy, we weren't prepared for. We definitely weren't prepared for. And we are now, working our way through. And that's something that is very important, because you're dealing with, now you're the, for a lack of a better word, the parent to them. Especially in with my wife, my mother-in-law, she's in a facility. So my wife is taking care of everything for her.
And paid out of pocket and things of that nature, making sure if you're not on Medicaid or if you had a policy to make sure that the care is there. And we find that a lot of people are coming in kind of in your situation, right? They're in your situation, they're taking care of a parent, and they're like, man, I don't want my kids or my family to have to do this for me.
Right.
How can I have a conversation about it now?
Yeah. Yeah. And the big thing that, for me, my parents didn't have to deal with this because their parents were gone early. My dad thought he was going to only live till about, 65, 70. And that was not a great plan because he lived to 87. And that, that put a strain on things. And these are things that we weren't taught when we were younger.
You weren't. You weren't. Most people were just lucky enough to maybe purchase it along the way because they had a good advisor and they said, hey, listen, this is something you might want to look at. But nowadays with, I don't know your mother-in-law situation, but whether it comes to dementia, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, right? Those stays in facilities or home care or wherever they may be taken care of at the beginning, it's an 8-year stay. And we're in Pennsylvania, and that's at $130,000 a year. So times that by 8, right? No matter if you have a large portfolio or not,
Right.
it's a hindrance on that portfolio and the other person that's taking care of you.
Yeah.
Whether it's your wife or your husband, whether it's your kids, they have to leave their job to help take care of you if they can't get you into where they want to be. And even during a pandemic, most people didn't want to go to a nursing home. They wanted to be taken care of at home, right?
Yeah, that was my dad. My dad did not want to, and he was declining. We knew he was declining. He had dementia, and he was adamant about being at home and not being anyplace else. And got to the point where the only person he trusted was my mom. And that was for kids, that's a tightrope to walk. And so, so you're dealing with that on a fairly regular basis.
Yeah, we're having these conversations. You're trying to have them with people a little bit younger. We're trying to have conversations with people in their 40s and 50s because they're the ones taking care of their parents, right? And not letting them wait till they're 70 and that age, and they're like, oh, well, it's too late. They'll be too expensive to buy. So we're trying to have those conversations, whether it's a traditional policy, whether it's a hybrid policy. You're not trying to take all the burden off. You're just trying to take some of the burden off, right?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
mom was taking care of dad. Somebody had to step in when mom was like, listen, I need to go out and have a drink. I need to go out and get something to eat. I need some social time with some other adults. And I love my husband, but I can't be here 24 hours a day.
Yeah. And you're not prepared for that. No one talks about that. And the thing is, in our situation, all of my siblings, we were all focusing on our careers and our families. And you're not thinking about mom and dad because mom and dad have always been there and they've always taken care of themselves. And then one day you realize, geez, dad's not making sense today. What's going on? And, that reality hits and you're not ready.
You're in that situation. And then you have it with parents one parent is passed away and you have the other parent. And one of the kids who were focused on their career might have to leave the career to help take care of mom. And at some point, they might need to get paid because they can't afford to leave their career because they have kids, they have a mortgage, they have everything along that nature.
So you have a lot of situations that you have to analyze and then custom the program or plan for them.
Yeah, it's customized to the person sitting across the table and their family structure, longevity. We look at, hey, when is mom and dad still with us? Are they, how long do they live till? And we'll just categorize it to where it may be. And then if you hear Parkinson's, dementia, Alzheimer's, we're going to look at some type of lifetime benefit for long-term care. But there's traditional products, there's hybrid products that you can split between husband and wife. You can structure it to basically whatever you need to, and how the people are sitting across the table.
In a way, Brendon, you can't have a bad day because you're dealing with people and their money and some maybe volatile situations. So you constantly have to be on your toes.
I try to. My wife says I do have some bad days. I can't lie. But yes, and those conversations across the table. You can't be in a bad mood when someone's trying to let you know where they want to go and where they want to be, because you're the person they're talking to. You're the person helping make that dream of retirement relaxing for them. You're just taking, hey, how can we help you? Can we get you to where it is? Here's our team, the team that we build, of professional networks around us besides what we do. How can we make your retirement, wealth, and health easier so you can live however you want in retirement?
All right. Very good. What makes you stand out from the competition?
I just mentioned it, our professional network. So while I have a niche in long-term care and pensions, we use advisors for 401k, IRA assets. We use estate attorneys. We have accountants. Anything that's related to our clients' health and wealth, we have, because everyone does something specific. You've been in radio. You've helped people launch podcasts, have conversations on the radio. Everyone does something specific. I know specifically what I do well. I know what I do not know enough about. So when I was in the bar, like I said earlier, in the restaurants, you had a manager, you had somebody who cooked the food, somebody who brought the food. You were the middle person in between that. But it takes the team to do it. It's the same way in retirement. We have at least a professional network. If somebody needs to create a space for mom and dad, we have builders, we have electricians, we have whatever it may be. If they call us and ask us for it, we make sure we have a professional network of people that we use that we know will make their life easier along the way.
And that must take time trying to develop those relationships, because you have to trust them because you're recommending that.
Absolutely. And we'll put 2 or 3 people on the table and be like, hey, this is why I would use this person. This is why I would not use this person. Here's the reason you said something. This is where I would go. And then it's just, based on that. And that's how we do it. We go out and network with these people. We're in the community with these people. Delaware County is a large community, but it's really a small community when you look at it. So we make sure that we have those answers for our clients when they call and ask. And then if they're working with someone, we'll ask to network with their people so that we can make sure that we're doing the job that they had put forth for them.
That's the unique thing about, the Philadelphia area, Pennsylvania area. It's a big area, but it's all small neighborhoods that are pieced together, and people are, this is my observation, my personal observation, but they're proud what neighborhood they come from. They don't just say, oh, I'm from Philadelphia, or they know exactly, the block and the little area that they are, and that's how they identify themselves. And I found that kind of unique. I'm not from that area. I actually grew up on Long Island, and my radio career has afforded me to live in different parts of the country, and I have found, the Pennsylvania area, and just a great place to be. I enjoyed my time there. I've lived in New England. I've lived down south, and just the Pennsylvania Northeast area has a unique approach to how they gather and identify themselves. Let me now. Well, I'm sorry for carrying on that way.
No, I was going to say the same thing. I mean, it's what parish, what high school. Within the first 3 questions of meeting someone, where did you grow up? What parish you go to? What town you from? Or what high school you go to? And then you kind of just like, oh, well, I know these people, and that's kind of how it works out.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. And then all of a sudden you have a connection with them. Mm-hmm. Who benefits the most from your expertise?
So I think retirees, or like pre-retirees, about 55 and up, they're in that plan where they've put assets together. They are looking to retire within the next 5 to 7 years, and they're just kind of getting their plan. Even if they want a second look at their plan, maybe they work with somebody else and they're not really sure. I think that those are the people that we deal with the best. They're pre-retirees, 55 and up, have some assets, don't know how to take them, don't know if they should be doing anything else to maximize where they're going to be in retirement.
Okay. All right. And what are you working on now that our audience should know about?
We're actually getting ready to start a seminar process with estate attorneys in our area. We find that a lot of people do not have their estate docs, their medical powers of attorney set up when we meet with them. So part of our, when I was saying professional network, we check with that. Hey, when's the last time this was reviewed? Do you have a will? Do you have a trust? Do you have power of attorney for medical? God forbid mom or dad aren't here. Who gets the kids? Things of that nature. So we're starting to do a seminar probably September-ish where we're going to work with local estate attorneys for that and show you how the investments can fit into that place where they should be, what you need, and things of that nature.
Okay, very good. Then what are the 3 pieces of advice you can give to our listeners?
I would say right now, a couple pieces of advice would be, a lot of people go to work, they get insurance, life insurance through work. You definitely need something outside of work, okay? Whether it be a term policy, a whole life policy, whatever it may be, but something term, the cheapest insurance you can buy, make sure it has some living benefits. You're not just using it for the death benefit. God forbid, stroke, heart attack, cancer. Those benefits are being paid out early, right? It can help families along the way. We see that a lot. We had, terrible recent tragedy. We met this client, proposed the insurance. She goes, no, I have enough through work. She passed away within a month of us meeting her.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, and then the husband was like, oh, I think I need that insurance. I was like, I think you do. I'm sorry.
Wow.
So those kinds of stories it's sad to tell, but it's true, right?
Right.
Police officers, if they're not shot on the job and they don't pass away outside of work, they have no insurance. So we look for those to say, hey, it's cheap. It's less than a cup of coffee. You can have insurance that'll pay the bills. God forbid something happened to you.
Yeah, it's important because things come out of the blue, and I'm speaking from experience. Just a couple of years ago, everything's going well, and my wife and I come back from visiting her family, and within 2 weeks, I'm not feeling well, and this just kept going and going and going, and I thought it was COVID. It wasn't COVID. No one could figure out what was going on. I ended up having a stroke. And I was out of work for a couple of months, and it was if we had enough to take care of ourselves, but if we weren't prepared, boy, that's devastating.
It can be, yeah.
And I ended up
here with us.
Yeah, thank you. And I ended up having open heart surgery. The hospital bill, was astronomical, and thankfully we had good insurance and we were taken care of. But if we didn't have great insurance, there's a good possibility we could have ended up filing for bankruptcy. So, you've got to be prepared because stuff just comes out of the blue.
Yeah, and the younger you are, the cheaper it is. So, it's really like I say, if you're going to go to Starbucks, and I frequent Starbucks and places like that, so I get it. So the life insurance, it's cheap. It's a cup of coffee a week. You could have a nice policy that'll take care of your home, your family, your loved ones. God forbid something happened to you. And you hear it more and more today, younger people passing away, which you didn't hear back in the day. You didn't hear a lot of that.
Right. Yeah, that is something. Brendon, we're about to wrap up. Is there anything that I didn't ask you that you want to pass on?
No, I just go back to the estate docs. If you're getting ready to retire, you have kids, make sure that those are in place. You don't want them to not be in place and someone go, I don't know what to do because there was nothing left. We had no direction on where to go. You can control the direction of where your assets go. You can control the type of care you get. You can have all that control. Just don't keep pushing it off. Make sure that you take the time to at least talk to someone, right? If you're in that 30 to 40 year range, that's the time to start interviewing advisors, right? That's the interview process. You can work with someone, you can leave, you can go find someone else that didn't fit because you're going to have that time horizon. When you're in your 50s, 60s, you're kind of just okay, well, I found a guy, I kind of like that person, I'm still here, right? You kind of interview along the way. Start interviewing, having those questions.
I never even thought about that interview because actually my wife picked out our advisor.
Okay.
She was the one who asked the questions, and she was happy, and I was like, well, if she's happy, then I'm going to be happy. That's you know.
I totally happy life. I get it.
Yeah.
I just think that some people want to ask those questions early. Hey,
Yeah.
what can you bring to the table that I'm not already doing, or I haven't learned on TikTok or Instagram Reels or whatever it may be? There's a little bit more to, what goes on behind the scenes besides that 30-second short you're watching on Instagram.
Right. Very good. Okay. How can people get in touch with you?
They can reach us at, we have an office number. It's 610-449-9900. I have a Calendly link that we can put up, throughout. We have our website, mycfsi.com. We're available. We're around the Delaware County area. We're in multiple states. So we're not inclusive to just hometown, but we are in our community a ton.
All right. Very good. Thank you very much, Brendon. It was great talking to you, and we look forward to your next podcast. And thank you for listening to today's Compass Wealth Conversations podcast. Please like, follow, and share this podcast with friends and family. Until next time, for Brendon, I'm RJ Malik.
Thank you for listening to the Compass Wealth Conversations podcast. Click the follow button to be notified when new episodes become available. Visit our website at www.mycfsi.com. That's www.mycfsi.com. Or give us a call at 610-449-9900. And don't forget to click the follow button to be notified when new episodes become available. The information covered and posted represents the views and opinions of the guest and does not necessarily represent the views or opinions of Compass Financial Solutions Incorporated. The content has been made available for informational and educational purposes only. The content is not intended to be a substitute for professional investing advice. Always seek the advice of your financial advisor or other qualified financial service provider with any questions you may have regarding your investment planning. Please note that the information provided in this podcast is for general informational purposes only. All opinions expressed by the hosts and guests are solely their own opinions and do not reflect the opinions of any institutions or entities they may be affiliated with. This podcast should not be considered as financial or tax advice. We strongly recommend consulting with a professional financial advisor or tax professional to get advice tailored to your specific situation before making any financial decisions.